A year ago, we brought you the story of the business of art. We called it investing in your passions. But a year later, we're seeing some of the challenges and losses that can come with those passionate investments.
Remember, these pieces of work, or these assets, if you want to call them that, they don't produce an income. They don't have a coupon associated with them. The only income that you get is the appreciation.
Kraus is chairman and CEO of Aperture Investors and has spent a career in finance, including as head of AllianceBernstein. With his wife, he has also become one of the most avid art collectors on Wall Street.
My wife and I have been collecting since we got married, which is 44 years. And the first thing we bought was really sort of a small print. And I said to the gallerist, who's not alive any longer, I said, well, you know what I like, and if you have any more, give me a call. And he looked at me and he said, here's what we're gonna do. If you wanna collect art, you will come in every Saturday and I will show you art. But if you think I'm gonna call you on the phone and tell you there's something for you to come and see, that's not happening. And I took his admonition seriously. And my wife and I went in every Saturday. And every Saturday he showed us work, most of which we couldn't afford. And we finally found a painting that we liked and we bought, and it was $6,000, and we paid for it $500 a month until it was paid off.
Over the decades, Kraus and his wife Jill have added to that single work, paid for in installments, and assembled a very large collection. It's people like the Krauses who are at the center of a growing web of players, including auction houses, banks, and advisors. They connect one-of-a-kind assets to collectors of all levels, from the very experienced to those just starting out.
Traditionally, when folks wanted to go to sale, they would kind of call a gallery or a dealer or call an auction house.
Anita Heriot is Fine Art Group America's president.
As the market's grown so substantially, it became necessary to have an independent firm that kind of serves as a fiduciary for the client.
According to a recent Deloitte report, ultra-high net worth individuals grew their art and collectible wealth from $2 trillion in 2022 to more than $2.5 trillion in 2024. The trend shows no sign of stopping as the so-called great wealth transfer gets underway.
Just imagine this. Baby boomers bought more stuff than anyone in world history. Just think about that. And what are they all doing right now? They're trying to figure out what to do with it. There's more material that will be hitting the market than ever before. And it's required to find appropriate places and strategies for sale for these objects. So that's number one. Supply is going to increase with baby boomers. Number two, what did they buy, right? Most young folks are not interested in 19th century paintings, old master paintings, regionalist artwork from the 19th century and the 20th century, like the Ashcan American School as an example. So there are lots of areas where taste will really be impacted by the younger generation acquiring these objects. There's no doubt about it. And because these are kind of passion assets that tend to sit in homes, think about how homes are now designed.
More art and more stuff also means a growing clientele for those in the art business. There were 121,000 ultra-high net worth individuals in 2024, rising to over 163,000 by 2030. But that doesn't necessarily mean any time is a good time to be in art.
It really depends on what's happening in the economy. So, for instance, in 2015, 2016, 2017, when people were buying art like crazy, right? There was just this huge appetite to acquire these assets. It was really great to have an opportunity to utilize your art for liquidity, which allowed you to get a loan against your artwork to buy more artwork, right? Many auction houses would have advances, right? So you could acquire an artwork and it would automatically, you'd get an advance on it. So there was a desire to acquire more work. As the economy started to slow and there was inflation, there were issues in the commercial real estate market, we started seeing more and more clients not thinking so much about, hey, I want to buy more art, but they were thinking like, hey, I need liquidity, right? Maybe I'm over leveraged in other areas of my portfolio, but I've got this big art collection. I can use this for liquidity to buy another business, to pay for my commercial real estate. So the reasons for collateral really depend very much on what's happening to the economy and the necessity for quick money.
While each work of art is unique, there's a big business in bringing some clarity to the market and in bringing together the buyers and sellers. Enter Edward Dolman.
Well, basically, it's a sort of perfect form of the market. It's the ultimate sort of demand and supply where the two meet, with an auctioneer in front of all our clients who have come along to bid for the works of art that we've offered for sale.
We spoke to Dolman when he was CEO of Phillips, which specializes in contemporary art. Auction houses like Phillips, Sotheby's, and Christie's provide a public forum for price discovery at events throughout the year, including big ones in the spring and the fall.
So the art business is essentially driven by this auction machine, but round it is a huge sort of ecosystem of galleries and collectors and museums and art institutions. We're a big community, but I do think the auctions are probably at the heart of it.
Over your time involved in the art auction business, how has it evolved?
Well, it's been transformed, actually, in the time that I've been in it, which is a long time now, it's 35 years. When I first started, the market was opaque, to say the least. The only people that had any pricing information were the auctioneers and the dealers who attended the auctions and wrote down all the prices in their catalogues. And I think the biggest transformative event in our world has been information and access to data. So really, the market we see now, what's so different about it is the access to information that everybody has who's in that room, competing, whether they're in Asia or South America or Europe or America. They have access to the same information.
Who'd like to open the bidding here?
The price may be public, and the seller may be protected by guarantees and irrevocable bids. But for the buyer, the question remains whether a work of art is worth the prices being bid, and also how those prices might be financed, which is where Fotini Xydas and her colleagues at Citi come in.
The art market can be still opaque. It has gained transparency in some ways, but in many ways it still remains not a transparent market, and a novice collector might need some guidance.
Fotini Xydas is head of art finance at Citi, one of the major banks that have added art advisory and financing to their investment offerings. When needed, they lend against the investors' collections to provide the liquidity needed to acquire new art.
Some of the things we look at when evaluating art, be that for an acquisition, a sale, as collateral for an art loan, for insurance purposes, we look at a range of factors. We look at an artist's market history. If it's a more established artist, we look at, the longevity of that market and what's happening. We look at the individual artwork itself, so the sale history of that work. Sometimes artworks might show up for sale several times at auction.
So we have to be able to put a value on an object and understand what is the long-term value for it. Is it financial preservation? Is it investment? So when I say quality, I can't help but think value as kind of the synonym for quality.
14,900,000.
Today, the art market is larger and more transparent than in the past, and it's interwoven with interest rates and financing and expert advisors. But in the end, whether you're an art investor, a collector, or something of a mix of the two, the value of your purchase depends in part on whether it will resonate through time.
I literally think it's impossible. I think that if you were to ask yourself the question, if you went back to Renaissance times and were in Leonardo da Vinci's studio and he was painting the Mona Lisa, would you have known? Probably hard to tell.
But fortunately, for a true collector like Peter Kraus, it's not about predicting where the market will go.
As a collector, the key issue is trying to unlock the language that the artist is using to communicate their feelings or whatever they're putting into the art. And it's trying to figure out that language. That's the mystery to me. And where you figure out that language, Then all of a sudden you see what the artist is doing. You may not like it. It may not speak to you. But if it does speak to you, if that language is something you read and it does excite you and it moves you, that's interesting and that's important. And then the question is, are you the only person moved by it? Or are many people moved by it?
As a collector, do you sell?
Never.
For the true art collector, as for the true artist, maybe it doesn't matter how many people are moved. One can be enough. But it's how many people are moved that will take a passion asset and make it an investment.